What if I were to tell you there's a guy in this draft cycle who's projected to fall anywhere from the mid first round to the early second round, even though he's the best prospect in this entire draft? Now you might say I'm crazy, and that's okay, but hear me out, and at the end of this video, you may become just as convinced as me that Benjamin Morrison is this draft's biggest sleeper, and someone your team has to draft. It is September 23rd, 2023. Ohio State's coming to Indiana to go play Notre Dame in one of the most anticipated games of the 2023 season. The matchup everyone was looking forward to in this game was Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Benjamin Morrison. Before this game, Marvin Harrison had been on a tear. He had posted multiple 100-yard games, not just before, but after the Notre Dame game as well. Versus Notre Dame and Benjamin Morrison, however, Marvin Harrison only had 3 catches for 32 yards. Now, I understand that this is just one game, but to hold Marvin Harrison, who is possibly the greatest receiver draft prospect of all time, to that stat line is absolutely absurd. This wouldn't be Morrison's only great performance, however. Against USC that season, Morrison helped lock down USC's #1 rated offense. In that game, he snagged an interception, and he was able to lock down all of USC's great wideouts. What Morrison has proved as a 3-year career starter at Notre Dame is that he can compete with the best and is a true lockdown corner, which is extremely rare. Although the NFL isn't as pass happy as it used to be, having a guy like Morrison who can lock down any receiver in the entire league will give the defensive coordinator for whichever team drafts him just so many options to do whatever they want. According to many outlets prior to the season, Morrison had come in as the second best returning corner in all of college football. Due to injury, we couldn't see him go much this season, but that's the reason why people are lowering him in their mock drafts. However, I don't see why teams should be lower on Morrison because of it. In the past, hip injuries haven't exactly been awful injuries, and they're definitely not career-ending. And I know people will say that we don't know how he's going to be after the injury, but Morrison is a special prospect, and I genuinely believe that the reward far outweighs the risk. Earlier, I said that Morrison was the second best corner coming into the season. Well, the person that most people had at #1 is Will Johnson. So let's compare the stats. As we could see, the player on the top has more tackles, pass defenses, and interceptions than the player on the bottom in their first 2 seasons. The player on top is obviously Morrison, which leads me to the question of why people think Will Johnson is a better player than Benjamin Morrison. And more importantly, why do people disrespect Benjamin Morrison so much? In an overall weak draft class where there just isn't as much top end talent and not as many good passers, why not take a shot on a player that could be a staple for your defense for the next 10 seasons? Finding a true lockdown corner is rare nowadays, so I don't see why people wouldn't want to take a shot on this kid. Ben Morrison will be an NFL legend, and he should be taken in the top 5 of this year's draft.